Kayfabe Avenue.
Ladies and gentlemen, heels and faces, casual wrestling fans, and all you smart marks, I'm Richie Moon.
And I'm Kayfabe AJ.
And I'm Kayfabe Focus.
And welcome to Kayfabe Avenue. And this is our top 5 for AEW, man. You know, we're mixing it up. It's not just for the men. This is not just for the women. This is for the men and the women's top 5. And it's you know, there was some back and forth with this, but once again, before we get into that, let's give you the criteria of what we base this list on. We base it on performance in ring, storylines, impact, accomplishments, the impact from January 2025 to June 2025. That's what in that time frame.
Basically,
So yeah,
mid-year review on the company, who's the 5 major standouts throughout the entire roster, not barring men or women, just all inclusive.
everybody.
Let's start it off. Who's number 5?
All right. So number 5 coming in is the All Elite World Champion John Lee.
Yeah.
All right, focus. Come on, focus. Come on, focus.
Job Moxley.
Job Moxley?
Job Moxley.
Job Moxley, even though he wins.
How you gonna call a world champion Job Moxley?
Because they didn't need a job head.
Yeah.
You know, I think
was super reluctant to put him on the list.
we all were.
But
We
the
all were.
criteria was accomplishment. And we can't take away from John Moxley being the AEW World Champion, even though we have not
He beat
seen
him.
the title in a year.
Right.
But
That's very
He comes
interesting.
in, day out, ruins wrestling, and then leaves.
You trying to tell me that Moxley's doing Cena's storyline?
Yes.
but
He's the reason why AEW sucks right now, bro.
Come on, bruv. Yes. You know, the Death Rider story just hasn't been working for the majority of the year, and I would give credit to the fact that within this 6-month span, which is what we're talking about, it has started to rebound. But that has nothing to do with the efforts of John Moxley themselves. It has to do with the fact that now we actually have that push that we need to take the title away from him, that we need to push him away from the main event and away from power in AEW. So that's what's driving the story. But accomplishment wise, like we said, a year we haven't seen the championship due to Moxley. He's been beating people left and right.
Swerve,
Regardless of how, the list of people that he's beating as well is definitely something to shout out there. But you know, it doesn't matter how he's winning, even though it's mostly run-ins and DQs. He's winning. When you look up the stats, it doesn't say by disqualification. It doesn't say by interference. It says W.
Right.
So
right.
John Moxley at number 5. Do we have any other thoughts on Mox and his spot on this?
I think we're gonna see. I think we're gonna see the fall of Mox at Y'all In.
I think we have to see the fall of Mox at Y'all In. This is like a no coming back kind of thing. Like it has to happen.
Yeah,
it really does. That's the only way to further the storyline.
That part. All right. Number 4, we got the man who was going to take the AEW World Champion from him, the main character, the Cowboy, Hangman Adam Page, coming in at number 4. For me, he comes in at number 4 because, you know, basing it off the last 6 months, Hangman really didn't start to like really heat up until, you know, April. Yeah, March, April. And especially like when it was kind of decided, like I mean, he won the Owen Hart Cup, but the way they positioned the story, which I really do like he has to be the guy. And realistically, if you look at AEW from when it started to now, the main character has been Hangman Page. He's always been slated as the guy, so I think it makes sense, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the Cowboy does with the rest of the year after he
Yeah,
beats John Moxley.
I think in our previous podcast we definitely put a spotlight on Hangman and kind of solidified exactly that point that he is the main character of AEW going back from the beginning, day one. He's been the same guy. We've seen the ups, the downs, the development, the setbacks, the accomplishments, the doubt. We've seen everything with this character. He is the epitome of what AEW is. One of the original elite, one of the original EVPs. Who else but Hangman? Especially, he's the only one out of the elite that's never been questionable, was never caught up in the drama of AEW outside of the supposed going in for himself promo. But there wasn't a major fallout from Hangman per se. It
Right.
never translated to what he's doing in the ring on TV, and this is his
That
year.
part.
So everything carried over from last year. His battles with Swerve, and now his run-ins with Osprey, and them really putting the push behind Hangman being the guy. He had to be number 5 for me.
Yeah.
I mean, what, number 4? Excuse me.
Focus. You got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that Hangman has to finish the story. He just
I feel
has
like I've
to.
heard that somewhere before, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean that's the perfect way to say it, right? He has to finish the story.
He
That's
has
that's
to
probably
finish
the
the
best. That's
story.
probably the best comparison you can just say in just a couple of words.
Yeah. Yeah.
Focus, man. A few words. But
So let's
I
get to
agree.
let's get to number 3. This changed up a couple of times before we got to a final decision. And coming in at number 3, man, my guy, and coming back after a year, he was out for I think for more than a year, almost lost his life. You know what I'm saying? Coming back, champion, Chris changed his wrestling game up to to compensate to where he's at now. But I still think he's as sharp as ever. The cleaner, the best bout machine, Kenny Omega. Fireworks, 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 fireworks. Something about North Carolina.
Yeah. So let's go back to the point you made that we kind of argued a lot about this. This went back and forth a couple times because Kenny, in reality, doesn't have a large bulk of matches between January and um, June.
Yeah.
So the reasoning
This
is
leaves me.
the the impact, the
Mm-hmm.
accomplishment of winning the international championship. Not only that, his storyline has been going into like the fabric of this AEW versus the Death Rider situation.
Mm-hmm.
Anarchy in the Arena, he was a participant in that. His battles with and against Will Ospreay, against the
The
what's
Bucks.
what's the family,
The Don
Don
Callis family.
Callis.
Don Callis family. So looking at the story impact, the accomplishment of this title, he's going into Y'all in Texas, going against Okada for the Continental Championship. So he has a chance to win both belts and merge them. They're going to be the EW Unified Championship. I don't know why they're calling it that. Because well, let's just say they
I
can't make
think
it
it's because
Intercontinental Championship.
they can't call it the Intercontinental Championship. I
Yeah.
feel like people go, oh, they're copying them, but I mean, this is one of those scenarios where it's just like it's kind of just a perfect storm. It's the Continental Championship.
It's the
It's
international.
infinite. They're
What do you
combining
call
them.
it? The
It's Continental
they could call
International
it the
Championship.
Continental. The Continental.
Continental.
The
The
AEW
Continental
the
The
Championship.
AEW
Continental.
Boom.
Continental Championship.
We just
The
solved it for you right there.
Continental.
And then like Focus usually
Continental.
says all he needs is the Oceanic Championship
Man.
for them
But what
to
if
And
you
then
then
need?
he could be the Universal Championship. He could be the
Goddamn.
the,
Universal Champion.
Goddamn it.
the
But I think
Or
AEW
it'll be the official
Universe.
world champion. It'd be an
I
It'll be
official
the
think
world
World Champ
championship.
title.
It'd be a world
I think
championship.
Kenny's had a big year. Kenny's had a big year, even though he hasn't had a lot of matches.
But
The matches that he has had have been like this leans more, like you said, this leans more onto the impact that he's had and
not
him
only
just
that,
being
he's coming back off of like welcome the hero back from injury in his case, sick with diverticulitis. Wow,
say that
It's
much.
it's
Right?
really gonna take a while for me to be able to get that in one fluid motion.
It's not a
Diverticulitis.
right. Oh.
Coming back from that, being able to overcome that injury, top of the year, even though it wasn't for AEW, debuted at New Japan Pro Wrestling's biggest show, Wrestle Kingdom.
Right.
So it makes
To
sense
come
why he
back and
ended
have
up
a
in the
match,
in the third spot.
to come back and even have, even though it was part of AEW storyline, but just to come back and have a match of that caliber after being gone for that long with an injury like that, that just, and to find out that he was doing all those matches with Vertigo is just like, well, what would his matches would have been like if he didn't have Vertigo? Like yeah. Kenny's on another level. He really is.
Yeah. So, Kenny at number 3. Any last
Yep.
thoughts on Kenny being at number 3? Let's move on. Who's at number 2?
Bang.
Yeah, this got spicy. This got spicy because this also switched and flipped and switched. But I think one of my favorite characters in all of wrestling, not in AEW, not in just in all of wrestling, period. You may be the greatest of all time, but I am timeless. Of course, I'm talking about timeless Home Storm. I mean, she is just. I think she's the best. She's the best. Promos, in ring, character, vignettes, look. Just she is
She's
when
gonna
she is.
sentence the rest of this list to a lifetime of mediocrity. That's what she's gonna do to the rest of this list.
Uh,
So
yo, that's one of the best. Yo, for dead ass, for real, that is one of for me. That is one of the best promos ever.
I think
Like,
I think honestly it's the most rewatchable promo since Ric Flair's Woo Off for me.
right? It's up there. It's
Not
up there
not
with.
not just because of like because it was comedic, but it was serious too. Really serious. She started off getting getting spit on. So
Right.
it was serious promo, but it was just the way she cut it. But
Yeah.
obviously back and forth with Mariah
Got
May,
spit
who
on.
was still in AEW at the time, in this fantastic storyline that lasted an entire year, over the AEW Women's Championship. She regained it back. She's at the top of the mountain, and there's really just an undeniable reason why we couldn't put her at number 1. We'll get into that. But Tony has had an amazing, like, 2 years. Like, God
Oh,
honest
just,
truth, she's the most natural talent, the most organic character AEW has, and 9 times out of 10, she's overshadowing everything that's happening on the rest of the show, and her
mm-hmm.
matches and her segments are the highlights week to week or even in pay-per-views.
I mean, even though it didn't happen this year, I think it's just worth highlighting the the feud she had with Mariah May, or as she's known
It
as
did happen this
Brooklyn
year.
Raw.
It
As
finalized within the last couple months.
it did.
Yeah.
Gosh, that feels like a lifetime ago.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so even emphasize it even more. That the
That's
feud that
only
she
3
had
months
with
ago. That's only 3
that
months ago.
that also speaks to check our last show out. AEW has been going through some ups and downs. They're going through some ebbs and flows. that was kind of, she was like AJ said, she was a highlight. Gosh, her and Ryder were a highlight during that time. You know what I'm saying? So, but that feud that she had, that's one of AEW's best feuds ever. I think that might be
Ever. That
feud of the year, like,
arguably ever. Arguably
right?
AEW's best feud ever.
That might be feud of the year, like for real, and not in wrestling. Period. Like that was such a good feud from top to end. So,
They
shout out to the
they gon'
talent.
they gonna create college classes based off of that feud.
You can hold a
Should be said.
whole acting seminar based on Tony's character, based on the way she's delivering it, the way she's hitting certain notes and saying certain things and mannerisms and the whole 9 yards. So
So, so get so
I don't
so
think it's you know if anybody gets upset at the placement and her not being at number one, I think we can have a good way to explain ourselves on this. So, do you guys have any final thoughts on Tony being number two before we reveal the number one? And also, do you have any honorable mentions before we move on?
I
before we get
say I say we gotta watch out for the shoe before we say what's number one.
I think for some honorable mentions, you got when I drop, definitely Swerve Strickland, definitely Will Ospreay,
Definitely Kyle Fletcher,
definitely
one
the
hundred
photos, man.
percent.
He's a future AEW champion. I
Adam
don't know if it's going to be the world champion, but he's a future AEW champion. Uh, we
Adam
didn't say
Cole.
we didn't say Adam Cole. We didn't say him in the argument, but Tenosuke Kashna, for sure. Like I love his in ring. I think he's a beast
Takeshita.
in ring.
Not only that, Okada. Now, I kind of want to give the
Yeah,
reasoning
Foley.
behind that. Like
Okada definitely got argued.
Okada got argued off of the list for the simple fact that promo wise, he hasn't really been delivering. Storyline wise, he's been like an accessory. There's been nothing really
Yes,
besides him winning the Continental tournament, championship tournament, again
right.
defending as champion. There's really haven't been much outside of that. Kenny getting into this situation with him and about to unify the titles, that is bringing
Made it.
some shine back to him this year. That's why Kenny beat him for this. Another person was Adam Cole, Focus's choice in Adam Cole, and I felt like it was this. We felt it was the same thing. Adam Cole came in like a midpoint from injury. He won the TNT championship, but two defenses, three defenses, and there hasn't really been much.
I didn't feel like Adam Cole should be in here because I feel like he has been consistent. He's been having good matches. I don't feel like his impact. I didn't feel like if Adam Cole's, and there's no offense to Adam Cole, if his storylines didn't happen, it wouldn't really affect. We wouldn't really be like affected by it. If Okada's storylines don't work, like happen, like he was part of the elite, he's going to this huge program with Kenny Omega. So I feel like even though neither of them made it, I felt like even though he may have done less, those wins that he does have were more impactful than Adam Cole's.
And I think
Yeah, they.
the last big name that was obviously omitted, largely
Oh,
highlighted on this list was Will Ospreay.
well, right, yeah,
Ospreay,
that's what.
while having a
Excuse me.
magnificent year in matches, and has been a big part of AEW storyline, he's actually been losing the majority of the important matches. So there's actually been no accomplishments for Will Ospreay, even though he's
Yeah.
the driving force behind pushing Hangman Adam Page, like we mentioned earlier, and
Mm-hmm.
he's been kind of in the in between of Swerve and Hangman, and he's pushing for Team AEW to finally take down the Death Riders, which has been something the fans have been clamoring for. But statistics really did come into this too. Accomplishments throughout the
Yeah.
year came into this in a serious way for us, and
Right.
Ospreay didn't make the list on those criteria, but
Yeah.
definitely
Because
deserves an
And
honorable mention.
and also Max Caster. because he's the best wrestler
Wrestler
alive.
alive.
Let's go, Max. He's the
No.
best
Best
wrestler
wrestler
alive.
alive. Yeah. Max
Please,
Costa should have been
please
number
no.
one.
Please no. Let's
Nope.
not do
Nope. Number one, Max Costa. All right.
End episode. Kenny,
All
take us
right.
home.
that.
And for number one, the number one wrestler in AEW for 2025, like it or not, she is the highest paid woman in all of wrestling. Not in AEW, not in WWE, in all of wrestling. 6 belts, Monet. I am talking about Mercedes Monet. You might not like it, but the stats say different. The stats say different. She's undefeated. She has 6 belts. She is a real belt collector. Other people try to play at this character. She is a real belt collector. I got to meet her. She's a wonderful woman. And I got to see her wrestle at House of Glory about 2.5 months ago, maybe whatever. But Mercedes is dope. I don't know what more to say to her. She's the only person that
She's the
AJ said
only
earlier.
wrestler that was able to book herself into our top 5 and book herself at number 1.
She booked herself in here. AJ said earlier that Tony,
So
she overshadows everybody. It's hard to overshadow Mercedes Monet.
She's
It's really
glistening too
hard to do
much. Now I'm,
that.
the Monet hate. I'm joking when I say this. At first, when I was making the gestures, but at first when she came in, it was hard to digest because
It
it
wasn't
was it
good.
was
It
coming
wasn't
off
great.
as cringy, not as I love to
It
hate
wasn't
this
great.
heel. Um,
Yeah.
but with other factors, Renee Paquette, however you pronounce it, Renee Paquette, and
Yes.
the
Yeah. You
inclusion
got
of
it.
Harley Cameron and the gimmicks of the Monet puppet and just it
In ring.
highlighted what we loved about her in her previous run in the previous company, but in her new phase, we can't deny 6 championships, and she lost one a few months ago, so it would have been 7.
Right.
She has 6 championships right now. Who is accomplishing more than Mercedes and Renee? Whether it is a creative booking that she has control over or not, these companies are agreeing to give them their worth, their worth, give her their war titles
Right.
or mid card titles or whatever they are.
Mm-hmm.
That's a business decision that these companies are deciding, and we have to acknowledge that as compared to the rest of the entire AEW. But I really did want a couple of other people on this list, and she, in my opinion, she handcuffed me into having to put her on the list, into having
he
to
said
at
that
this
he said this
point.
list doesn't work for me, brother.
Straight up, it doesn't work for me, bro.
I mean, undefeated, 6 championships. I mean, across the states, across the globe. She's winning. She's main eventing. Well, she's the first woman to Madison Square Garden, Wembley Stadium,
She got a belt for every
Tokyo,
time she had to
Mexico
drop
Arena.
a belt on Raw.
You know what I'm saying? Like she's running with it. She
Literally,
her and Tony Storm are perfect examples of they left the big state. They left New York and they came and they just they became the best versions of themselves because this is what AEW was made for. You know what I'm saying? For people to become the best wrestlers,
yeah.
the
But
best
see,
versions of themselves.
The
this
best
this
wrestler alive.
this was the
Exactly.
problem with
Max
me
Cap.
putting her at number 1. I felt like the
Mhm.
person who's at number 1 should be also pushing others up around them. And while Mercedes got the most accomplishments and it's undeniable, who has been elevated since her matches against them or in these other promotions? Who is benefiting from Mercedes Monet getting these accomplishments? I get it, padding her stats, she's holding the
I
title. It
mean,
looks good, especially since AEW's pushing her as the forefront of the women's division. Besides
Mhm.
Tony Storm, and in many ways more so than Tony Storm, she's getting pushed. into that AEW spotlight commercially.
Mhm.
So
I think that would, you know
who
what,
would it
and
benefit?
no disagreement. I have no disagreement with that. I don't feel she's not necessarily bringing anybody up with her. I would say maybe my counter to that is she waves that AEW flag very, like, whenever she's on a Breakfast Club, whenever she's out in the sideline, she's very much AEW forward. The AEW, AEW. I'm the AEW. Yeah, I got all the belts,
It
but she always
honestly,
AEW.
it'd be a disrespect if she wasn't that way.
Yeah,
The amount of
that's
money that
that's
she's
kind of the
getting
only thing I can
paid,
say to that.
the amount of accomplishments she's getting thrown at her, you know, already having multiple championships, you still win the Owen Hart Cup.
Hmm.
That's just you know what? I'm gonna get every accomplishment that I can, and I'm gonna soak it out this company.
But you know what? She is the highest paid woman in wrestling. I kind of don't. You got to make it worth it. You
Her
know,
matches
I
have
mean, if you're
been
gonna get the
good for
bag,
that. Yeah,
make it worth it.
but
Make it worth it.
I
You know
think
what
she
I'm
needs to start transitioning and soon into and I think this will start at all in. I don't think she's gonna win at all in, and by no means
I'll make
should.
sure. I'll make sure. No,
No, yeah, she shouldn't.
because that puts it like she wins all these belts with that AEW, that
Then what
top, that's
happens?
the top of the top is prize. You
Then
can't get it.
then what happens to Tony Storm? You diminish
I'm,
what Tony's built
I
by
do. I think
making
that's
her
it.
be another person who lost to Mercedes, another person who got steamrolled. This
Yeah.
has to be the first time Mercedes gets stopped in her tracks,
Right.
gets put on her ass, and loses her opportunity. Maybe this needs to be the start of the downfall of Mercedes Moné. She starts losing these
They should.
championships and starts elevating other people.
Think Athena. I mean, even though Athena is the forever champion down at Ring of Honor, if you're not like a hardcore wrestling fan, you're not gonna know that. You're gonna be like, "Isn't that girl I used to wrestle in WWE for
See, I,
the Moon Girl, the Ember? Oh, remember her, Ember Moon? Yeah, her.
I'm
That's
glad
what
you
you're gonna
even
see."
brought Athena up because that's probably the only person that they had the opportunity to really make a huge star when she went against Mercedes Moné on that Dynamite episode. I don't blame Mercedes for that one. I blame Tony because right after that
Tony
match,
Fumble.
you were supposed to re up on Athena, who's Ember Moon in the WWE. You were supposed to re up on her, bring her to the forefront of AEW and make her one of those ones. He didn't do
She
that.
should
He
be
relegated her right back to Ring of Honor.
right.
Another
He should
person
he
that
should have made
Mercedes
a
steamrolled through.
threat match. He should have made a triple threat match.
It should have been. It should have been
I
for that
brought
match.
Athena in, have her cash in her titles too, have Mercedes Monet cash in her titles, have Tony cash in her titles, and then we just have winner take all.
You're right. Just
Everybody's
all
all
in.
in.
If
Right.
Yeah,
It's
see
everybody's all in.
if Mercedes winning all these belts leads to like Tony has maybe not bought but partnered with all these promotions and now we can start expecting some type of deal with the women flowing through those different promotions to challenge on AEW or we combine them. But I understand, but that's not gonna happen. So
I would.
we need to get to a resolution of okay, all these accomplishments, where does it lead to? That's all I want
Right.
to know. Who benefits
The
after who
the
besides
Infinity title.
Mercedes starts benefiting?
The Infinity title.
She needs to make an
Yeah.
Infinity Championship.
The Infinity
You heard it
Champion.
here first. The
The
Infinity
Infinity
title.
title.
She's got to go after Athena. She's got. I feel like this. Yeah, that would be. You know, I know I'm not. I would like a clean finish, but I think it would be really dope if Athena interfered and helped Tony Storm win.
Tony
Not even to
Storm.
help Tony Storm, but just to spite Mercedes Monet, and then you can spin off. Mercedes has her excuse for it, and then she can just spin off into that feud because Tony definitely
I think
helped elevate
I
others.
think if Tony Khan books smart, he has Tony Storm win at Y'all In, retain her championship, which breaks Mercedes' confidence. Starts losing the title midway of next year. Get that rebound story where Mercedes starts earning it in a way that the fans can get behind. that it shows that she went through
It should be a
adversity,
face.
be a face. Maybe Tony Storm gets a little more edge to her. A lot of things can happen in a year.
A lot of things happen in the year. Yeah,
She
a lot of
then
things
she
happen in the
then
year.
beats Tony Storm or even the whoever's the women's champion at that time. But she needs a humble run. She needs a humble run after this.
Oh, we'll see. We'll see. But for right now, six belts Monet is the number one wrestler in all elite wrestling. Who thought we would have been saying that at the top of 2025? You know what I'm saying? We're only halfway through the mark, so we got 6 more months. There's a lot more wrestler left, a lot more storylines. We'll see what happens. But for right now, Mercedes Monet, she got it.
CEO. All right, so with that being said, you can find us at Kayfabe Avenue on all streaming
Yeah.
platforms, anywhere you get your podcast, and on YouTube. So like, share, and subscribe. Follow us
Yeah.
everywhere, and
Oh.
take it home.